What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? BizzyDad here, you there, and we are jumping right in to the first round of spoilers from Force of Will's Return of the Dragon Emperor, the third set in the Lapis Cluster that is coming out next month in March. We literally just got finished with the Vingolf 3 spoilers. My boxes, they are on pre-order. There's going to be an unboxing later this week once they get here, and I can crack it open and get that to you guys. But while all that excitement is going on, we have a new set coming out just next month. So Force of Will wasting no time getting the spoilers out for the new set, and it's a really exciting time for the game. If you're just getting into it, if you're new, if you're a long-time player, it's pretty exciting to see all these cards coming in. The Vingolf 3 set looks amazing, so that does kind of set the bar for Return of the Dragon Emperor. Can Force of Will keep the roll going? Well, let's find out. Let's jump into the first batch of spoilers. A little bit of art here for the Return of the Dragon Emperor. It looks pretty cool, but here we go, guys. First set of spoilers. And the ruler off the bat is Kaguya, Tears of the Moon. So a very sad Kaguya. It's a wizard ruler, and the dual attributes are continuing. You kind of figured that was going to happen. Kaguya is blue and green with a judgment of 0. Usually these 0 judgment rulers have, they could be trouble, but let's see what Kaguya can do. There's a judgment of 0, but you can only play this ability only if a treasury item was put into your field this turn. So this is a little bit of a throwback to the Grim Cluster. You can't flip Kaguya over unless you put a treasury item into the field that turn. But if you do, the judgment is 0. There we see the Energize for either blue or green. Can't be both. And for 0, here's an activate ability. For 0, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a treasury item, put it into your hand. Play this ability only during your turn and only once per turn. So, for free, every time it's your turn, one shot, you can pay 0, reveal the top card. If it's a treasure item, it goes right into your hand. And if it's not, you just put it back on top. But, I mean, for free, why not? So, let's pretend we put a treasury item in. Let's pay the 0, flip her over. She becomes Kaguya Millennium Princess. This is a Moon Princess J ruler. Keeps the blue and green. And if you notice something is missing, it's stats, battle stats. We don't have any stats here. Just a J ruler. Doesn't say it can't battle, but there are no stats here. But we do have some text. So as long as you control 3 or more treasury items, this card gains barrier. So that's really key. You're going to want at least 3 treasury items, and that will just protect Kaguya from everything. Just a full barrier. That is really good. Rest a recovered treasury item you control, and a target J resonator gains minus 200 attack until end of turn. If you rest 2 recovered treasury items, you produce blue or green. If you rest 3 recovered treasury items, you can draw a card. Rest 4 recovered treasury items, return target resonator to its owner's hand. And if you rest 5 recovered treasury items you control, this card becomes a 15/15 with flying until end of turn. That is huge. And taking a look at the amount of treasury items you would have to rest and to get all these abilities. 5 is the max here, but you would think that you're going to run a lot of treasury items in your deck in order to be able to pull these abilities off. Stuff like this always interests me. I like unique stuff and interesting things. So, of course, like I always say, we have to see her support. So here is her special magic stone. It's Kaguya's Stone of Sorrow. And I never know if it's Kaguya or Kaguya. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I say Kaguya. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But this is a special magic stone. If your J ruler isn't Kaguya, then it enters your field rested unless you pay 300 life. So that special stone mechanic is carrying over. You treat this card as both a water magic stone and a wind magic stone. Rest it to produce blue or green. And when this card enters your field, look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. So really good way to work hand in hand with Kaguya to get the treasury items on top. Actually pretty slick. This comes into your field. You look at the top 2 cards, make sure the treasury item gets put on top, and then you can use Kaguya's ability for 0 to look and then put it into your hand. So I like the synchronization there, and I like the artwork on this card. It looks really nice. The stone, a teardrop. It looks really nice. I like it. Here's a first look at a resonator. It's the Glistening Chick, a 2-drop, 1 green, 1 blue, 500 attack and defense. It's a treasury item and a bird. So here's a treasury item. That's also a resonator. That's interesting. 5/5 with flying. And whenever this card becomes rested, you may rest target resonator. Pretty cool ability. When the Glistening Chick attacks or blocks, you can rest a target resonator. And also, this because it's a treasury item and Kaguya rests all the treasury items, that's kind of cool too, because you can rest this before the recovery phase and pin down one of your opponent's resonators. So I do like that. It's a pretty cool card. Water Kimono of 12 parts is an addition, which is also a treasury item. 1 blue to play. And you may have up to 12 copies of this card in your deck. So more than the max. A little nod to the Croco Shark here, also in blue. So whenever you see stuff like this means shenanigans, this means tricks, and it immediately has my attention. So let's get into it. You can bestow this to a resonator by just resting it. So that's nice. It's basically free. You don't have to rest and pay a color in order to bestow it. A bestowed resonator gains +1/+1 for each water kimono of 12 parts bestowed to it. And this ability stacks. So if you have 2 of these on the field and you put both on one resonator, each of these cards say it will gain +1/+1 for each water kimono on it. So essentially, each one of these water kimonos is going to give that resonator +2/+2. So in other words, 2 water kimonos on a resonator means they're getting a +4/+4. That is a pretty threatening buff, especially since you can have up to 12 water kimonos in your deck. When this card is bestowed to a resonator, if you control a resonator and 12 water kimono of 12 parts bestowed to it, you win the game. Wow. Okay, so you can run 12 in the deck. If you get all 12 on the field and onto the same resonator, game over. I mean, that sounds really tough and impossible to do, but I'd have to see the rest of the cards to see how manageable that could be. But I always love little conditions like that and little tweaks and perks like that. So that is really interesting. Mystia, Manager of the Treasury, is a Were-Rabbit resonator. 500 attack and defense for 3, 1 green, 1 blue, 1 of other. When this card enters your field, you may search your deck for a treasury item, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And when this card is put into a graveyard from your field, you may put a treasury item with total cost 3 or less from your hand into your field. So when we're talking about the stats, a 5/5 is not really much to write home about, but it's really the enter and exit effect that we're dealing with here. Mystia comes in, you go get a treasury item and put it into your hand, and then when Mystia is put into the graveyard, you put a treasury item total cost 3 or less from your hand into your field. So that is where she's going to be strong, and I guess it depends on the other treasury items too. Speaking of treasury item, here's the Miracle Millennia Medicine, a 1-drop. It's green, 1 green addition, which is a treasury item. And if you banish this card, target up to 3 non-Magic Stone cards in a single graveyard. The owner of those cards shuffles them into their deck. So just a really good way to get some cards out of your graveyard back into your deck. Doesn't say your graveyard, so you can pluck some cards out of your opponent's graveyard that you don't want in there and have them shuffle them back into their deck too. So if you're playing somebody who's trying to doppelganger big guys out of the graveyard, then here's a good way to just send them back into the deck. So another interesting card and another cheap treasury item to get on the field to rest for Kaguya. Finally, today is the First Moon, which is a 2-drop, 1 green, 1 blue. It's also an addition that's a moon and a treasury item. It says other additions you control cannot be destroyed. And that is pretty interesting because if you're trying to get that water kimono win, here's a good way to make sure none of those water kimonos could get destroyed right here. It says other additions. So this card itself can be destroyed, but not the other addition. So keep that in mind. And when this card becomes rested, target resonator gains minus 200 attack until end of turn. So, I mean, not bad. You rest it and you just take away attack a little bit. You can also combine that with Kaguya. I think Kaguya has that ability to suck 200 attack from somebody too as an ability. So it's not bad. And of course, really good artwork. I always love the artwork in this game. So guys, that is it. I know it wasn't much, but it was the first round of spoilers for the new set, Return of the Dragon Emperor, and I will say that it's interesting. I'm definitely intrigued in the rest of the support cards for these and the rest of the treasury items. I think it could be really interesting, but I want to know what you think. Let me know with a comment below. Do you like these? Do you hate these? Are you still hungover from the Vingolf 3 spoilers and need to see that set before we could start processing this? It's a really exciting time to be with Force of Will right now. And if you have not gotten into this game, get into it. It's a lot of fun. But don't forget to like, share, subscribe. We got more videos. I got deck profiles coming up this week. I have the Vingolf 3 unboxing later this week. And of course, we're going to have more spoilers as we get closer to the new set. So as always, thanks for a few minutes, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.